Special thank you to Seed and Stone Cidery and Lucky Buzz Meadery for sponsoring the show today. They help to make this show possible and supply us with the occasional beverage when we're out there. They've got 10 taps full of meads and ciders made right there in-house. They've also got all sorts of awesome events going on, including an open mic almost every single Thursday where you can come out and show your musical talent. So all you songwriters out there, stop out and grab a cider or a mead and tell them that the Songwriters Couch and the Patrick Joanne Band sent you. Again, Seed and Stone Cidery right here in Rochester, New York. Go out and visit them and let them know we sent you. Thanks, guys.
All right, so welcome to episode number 9 of the Songwriters Couch here at the Patrick Joanne Band compound in Greece, New York. And on the show today, we've got Sally Louise. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing the name correctly.
Yes. It's not Louis, it's Louise. Yes.
Okay, not Louis. Perfect. I'm Patrick Joanne, of course. And on the camera switching today, we've got my lovely daughter Maya, who is I can't really turn the camera around, but thank you for helping out today. So she's rocking that stuff. And thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
And I do want to say thank you one time for our sponsors here. We're drinking out of the Lucky Buzz glasses, so salute to them and for helping support the show and keeping us on air, as it were. So thank you to them. So usually we'll get started with like a song or something. We chose not to do that because you're going to play something a little later for us, right? Yeah. So let's start with this. What is it that you do, Sally Louise? And then I guess maybe we could even start out with like what's coming up. What kind of projects you got going on or whatever you want to promote, and then we'll probably do it again later.
Yeah, that sounds good. What do? I am a singer-songwriter. I teach voice lessons as a means to keep my classical chops up because I was an opera singer for a decade. And,
opera singer.
Yeah, so vocalist first and foremost, but I play guitar as well. And what else? I like to sew. I like to go for long walks. I do a lot of things.
Long walks on the beach and the like.
Yeah.
So what guy do you write your own songs? You actually write everything that you
Yes, I write perform? My own songs. I've been hired by people to write songs for them, but I definitely am a lyric focused songwriter. And when it comes to the melody, I just figure it out on guitar. I love kind of like Joni Mitchell style folk kind of things where the vocals are really sweeping and the lyrics are really meaningful. I'm certainly not in the pop realm where I like to just have the one line that repeats over and over and over again. I like interesting lyrics.
Yeah. Kind of. Is it more storytelling that you do? Or is it...
well, no, I wouldn't say storytelling. It's more like a feeling or experience and trying to encapsulate the abstract experience of it,
like poetry in motion.
A little bit more poetry. Yeah, poetry in motion. I like that. Yeah.
It's actually a line from I think it's who is it? Warrant. I think it's Warrant or Poison. I'm looking at Maya like she's going to know both Warrant. You probably don't know Warrant or Poison.
No.
I'm showing my age here.
No, I'm sorry.
Camera. Yeah. But I do the same thing. I tend to like doing storytelling or some form of like lyrical, playing with metaphors and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I like putting an abstract feeling into words and music to transcend it is really what I'm after.
So, and we'll get into kind of your process and how you how you write and what you're writing now and that sort of thing. But how did you move from doing opera over to like songwriting in a folk Joni Mitchell
that's
style?
A really good question. So I, as a kid, songwriting came first before opera, actually. As a kid, my best friend, when we were in middle school, we were like hanging out one day, and she said, "Oh, let's be like Taylor Swift and write some songs." And so we did. And I didn't know how to play a guitar. I was, I've played piano and violin. At the time, I was really taking violin lessons, but it's really hard to songwrite and sing while you're playing violin. So
it can be done though.
It can be done, but it was also not my cup of tea. This is like pun totally intended. The string instrument community is a little too high strung for me. So I
like to play on words. So you're definitely a songwriter there.
I know. It's my job. But I know that through all of this, I wrote a lot of bad songs, a lot of bad poems, and eventually wanted to pursue music, and singing was really like the instrument of choice, so to speak. And so I started taking voice lessons in high school and got really into classical music, because that's kind of where my teacher had me start technically. You kind of start with classical technique and then you branch out. And I really was good at it, and I decided I wanted to go into it more fully. And so that's why I pursued for, a degree and a half, because I'm a proud Eastman dropout.
Yeah.
But I lived in Germany doing it for a while, and I came back. And
what part of Germany were you?
In Berlin.
Oh, right on.
And opera capital of the world.
Yeah, how is Berlin in terms of like rock music and stuff? I heard it's a good music town.
I hear it's great for rock and techno and electronic. Yeah, I didn't see any of that. I was in the classical realm for that.
Classical.
Yeah, a lot of good classical shows, full houses every night. Was great. And learned a lot of German. So came back and I kind of felt the pinch. I had to go to grad school, it seemed, to get to the next level in my career where I could actually get, an agent and blah, 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 blah. And so that's what brought me to Eastman. And then I entered in 2019 and after my first year, of course, the pandemic started. And at that point, I was also before the pandemic even happened, I was already really unhappy.
So just to ask, to clarify, so you said you went from were you training in Germany and then came here, or were you performing actively? Or
a little bit of both. So I was training by, you're always training when you're in opera, like constantly. It's like the Olympics of singing. Yeah. And so I was doing coaching over there. I was like taking lessons from people. I was auditioning for opera houses. I cold called a lot of like opera collectives. Hey, can I perform with you? Can I play with you? Can I give you my audition info? And so I ended up being with like a group of expats who were over there, and we did some performances. But I was there to really learn German, because in order to get a contract, you have to speak German.
So I speak German?
Yeah. And
maybe a little bit for the cat. A little bit for the camera.
What do you want me to say?
Hello, Songwriters Couch.
Hello, Songwriters Couch.
Well, that didn't prove anything.
No, that didn't prove anything. Yeah, but maybe if you get me a little too, a little geschwitzt. Yeah, there you go. So I would, more than anything, it was a living experience that gave me a wider perspective of the world, of course, and I came back having had a lot more experience than a lot of my classmates who had gone just straight through undergrad to grad school, and I was just unhappy with the conservatory in general. And I think a lot of people who go to, I don't know if you did, but like musicians who end up in a conservatory, doesn't matter what kind of conservatory, if it's like contemporary pop music that you're studying or if it's classical, like I find that there's a lot of people who drop out for the same reason, which is it's just like so confining. Yeah. And it feels like the joy of doing what you love to do is like squelched a little bit. Like, this is what an artist looks like, and it's a box, and I'm like way over there.
Well, we've actually talked about like the schooling, like learning music or being schooled in music, and how sometimes it kind of works the music out of you. Kind of like religion, I was talking about like religion, how like, people like, I went to Catholic school my entire, like up until high school and all that stuff, all boys Catholic high school, but it like works the religion out of you if you're just kind of, it's like, it's so oppressive. But I can imagine like with some people I know, if they went to school for music, then they're like, no, I played whatever in high school. I'm like, you don't continue to play? Yeah. Because it's not, I feel like it's not a part of them, it's not
more than anything, it kind of like, it squeezes the music out of you. And I think the people who stick with it, who go through the program fully, most of them who finish are really into academia, and I am not. Yeah. And that's the difference. And if it fits for you, great. Like, God bless you, do what you love, but it wasn't a good fit. And so the pandemic was kind of a blessing in disguise for me, where suddenly I had all this time on my hands, because what good is a performance degree if you can't perform? So I had Zoom classes, but these classes were a joke at that point, because it was just us like sitting around the Zoom campfire being like, well, what do we do? We can't like perform. And I just realized like songwriting was the love that got me into singing in the first place, and all of a sudden all these songs were coming out of me. And at the time I was in an abusive relationship too, which was certainly helpful for the songwriting, but not so much for my mental health.
Unfortunately, those are sometimes the best, where the best songs come out of, is those terrible moments.
Really, I mean, so many sad songs, I tell you. So so it is a sad song. For like a year, ended up accidentally making an album that summer, and I decided I definitely wanted to drop out of Eastman at that point. It just wasn't for me anymore. I had no love of opera at that point, needed to take a big step back from that.
Do you feel though like you got a lot of technical prowess from it?
I can do a lot of things with my voice most people who I work with now cannot do.
I took it was amazing. I took Sia. Is that how you say?
Yeah, Sia, like with like the wig. Yeah. Okay.
So and actually, I was doing something today on Olivia Rodrigo song, but apparently that same voice coach or whatever that taught Sia is also Olivia Rodriguez. I saw her post something, but I went out and spent a couple of days out in LA a few years ago and had some lessons, like voice lessons, because I've never been schooled in doing vocal, anything.
It's a different beast, isn't it?
It's like all the technical aspects of it and stuff. Even with music, I never took any technical stuff. But what I learned there, just in that like couple of hour session with someone that really knows, one, how to teach, but two, like all the how to get the technical best out of a voice. Really, I think improved my my capabilities a lot. So I can't even imagine opera, like how much of a kind of crash course in like vocal range and stuff. Where are you at, like
range wise? I got like everywhere? 3.5 octaves. It's like man, I think the other day, because I was sick though, that was because I was sick, I was able to hit like a B3. B3 on the piano. Is that right? No, B2. B2 on the piano.
You're asking the wrong guy.
That's not the B below middle C. It's the B below that.
Oh, really?
And then I go to the, I can sing the F.
Low down.
F above high C, which would be F6.
Huh.
There you go.
All right.
So I have a big range. But what's funny is that that's not important in opera. It is, but it's not like, I find that in songwriters, or like just in general, like the pop music being like a generalization term, pop music scene of like doing wedding bands or doing like tribute bands or doing just having a band in general. People are, what's your range? That's like the thing they ask. But in the opera world, that's not the thing they ask. They're like, what's your vocal fach? Like, oh, I'm a coloratura. Great, cool. So this is your voice type. These are the roles you can do. This is what you can do on stage. Are you a good actor? Can you do this? Can you do like?
Because you have to include the acting too,
and sing and in a different language and know what you're doing and say it like a native speaker. And there's so many levels. And so like after a while, like your vocal range is like expected. You have to have a certain range.
Well, I'll be honest. Even with pop, vocals now, like Ed Sheeran and Justin Timberlake and stuff. Like I never thought back in the day I'd have to be able to sing, these high, but all of them are doing these higher pitched,
I think I love falsetto. I think that's great.
Like the falsetto stuff. I've gotten much better at it, recently, which is surprising because I'm getting older now. You know what I mean? And I'm better at it now than I was just from kind of doing it and learning how to do it. Like I said, taking a few lessons, but then watching even just YouTube on how to hit, higher stuff. What happened, Maya?
It's on the weird menu. I don't know what to do.
Let me see. You come over here one second.
Is it glitching?
Just hit the little thing to the right of the blue thing on the bottom. It'll take you back to the camera angles. The thing that looks like a play. Bring it over here. Come here. Sorry. Some technical. There we go. And that. There you go.
Hey.
Stand in. Don't worry. You're doing great, Maya. I appreciate it. Where were we? So, yeah, like doing it more and more now, especially doing it live. Like sometimes I'd hesitate on doing it. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to hit the note lower.
Oh, no, you got to have confidence.
Yeah, like I think that's 99% of hitting some of that stuff is just going for it.
I found, so as I said earlier, it was like I teach voice lessons as a, means of keeping my chops up, and also income is helpful, right? But I find that when I was a student and I was on the other side of the piano, and I'd be like, wow, my teacher really knows like all the secrets for how to get the best out of my voice. Like they know my voice better than I do. Yeah. And that's totally not true. Now that I'm a teacher, and I'm like, oh wow, my job is just to get people to be confident and like get out of their own way. Cause it's such a mental game, because it's an internal instrument and it's a biological instrument, meaning it just changes throughout your life. It changes with your mood. It changes with what's going on physically and mentally and emotionally. It's so entangled with all of that, and if you're not clear-headed and feeling really good, or physically and emotionally, you're gonna not sing super well. As my teacher in Eastman said, sad birds don't sing, So
yeah, I have problems actually during certain seasons because I have allergies.
Oh yeah.
And as soon as like allergies start bugging me, I have trouble like hitting key, like staying in key sometimes. I feel like inside my head is like different than what is coming out of my
So to answer that, is something that a philosophy I teach that I didn't have a name for until after my degrees, until I went to a yoga class and heard this word, which is proprioception. It's the ability.
Big word. Wait, can you cut to the main thing?
Yeah.
We're going to have a test afterwards, a spelling test.
Yeah.
Can you spell it, Maya?
No.
I can't even say it. What was the word?
P-R-O-P-R-I-O, C-E-P-T-I-O-N, proprioception. There you go.
I like it. I like it.
Proprioception. Yeah.
So kind of like
it basically means like the ability to scan your body without seeing it or touching it, like to feel when you're meditating or just sitting and you're taking a deep breath and you go through from the top of your head down to the tip of your toes. What's going on in your body? How are you feeling? Right now, my low back is killing me. But everything else feels really good.
Is it? Do you actually need a pillow or something?
I have back problems. It's no seat is going to help right now. But I will say, so that idea when applied to singing is something that I think if every person who sings professionally in any capacity, whether it's just backing vocals or lead or whatever, if they know how to go off of feel rather than how they sound, it's going to be a world of difference, because you inevitably have a gig where the sound guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing, at all. Or you can't hear yourself, or technical difficulties where the monitors aren't, there's no monitor, or your in-ears aren't working or something. They unplug. You have to go off of feeling. And so when you're stuffed up, I do believe in you, Patrick, that you can sing in tune.
I need that. I need constant reinforcement of my capabilities.
I need validation.
That's right.
All I want in life is validation. So all I say is, if more people went off of feeling rather than how they hear themselves, I think people would sing better in general. In fact, they do sing better when they go off of feeling. It's a muscle. It's muscle memory. And it's also...
What do you mean by... Can you expand a little bit on that?
If I sing on this note, I feel it in my chest. If I sing up here, I feel it kind of in my sinuses. That's literally the difference. And that's a really, really basic example. But as you're singing a song, especially knowing where the sweet spot for each note in your range is really what we're getting at. The higher you go, it's going to feel higher in your body. And when you go into your falsetto, it might not even feel like it's in your body anymore. And to know that that's okay and that feels good and that's means that you're in the right spot is super important, because if you're stuffed up and you can't hear yourself at all, but you can feel kind of where things are resonating in your body, where the pitch resonates, you're going to be fine. And I mean, I speak from experience, because I had my symphony debut with the Utah Symphony. I had a sinus infection, hardcore, could not hear myself.
What opera was it?
It was a concert where it was me and a few other winners of this competition, and it wasn't an opera. We just, we performed with the symphony as a soloist. So I think I might have been the only singer that year that won that competition. But
so you won?
I won. I was a winner. Thank you. Yeah, you win, you get to sing at that show.
That's excellent.
But it was sick. It was.
I don't think I'm going to be winning anything.
But hey, you've probably won some other really cool stuff too. So no, but it was really cool. But it was really I couldn't hear shit.
Yeah.
Can I swear on here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like fuck, man.
Yeah, I had. So as a matter of fact, the in-ears that we're using here, when I first bought this in-ear system, this is what we use as a band too.
Oh, nice.
I so stupid. I didn't think that because I'm like, okay, we're in a smaller space, so I'm not going to mic the drums, right? And I had my in-ears, but they're good in-ears, so they really sealed it up.
You couldn't hear the drums at all.
So we started the first song, and I couldn't hear the drums at all.
Which is great. You invested in some really good in-ears.
Yeah, but the problem is that that first song was completely out, and I'm playing and I'm singing at the same time, so I couldn't I wanted to get one of the in-ears out so I could hear. Yeah, it was terrible. It didn't work out well. But then
just like looking at the drummer and being like, I really God, pray.
Yeah, by the second song, I figured out I got to pull this out of my ear or whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
So you ended up going from Germany now to Eastman.
Yeah.
And then you said, well, my real passion is kind of songwriting and that kind of music.
Started doing that. Accidentally made an album, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should publish this. Didn't know what I was doing. I was just playing around on GarageBand. And had a friend who was a bassist and a friend who was a drummer, and we all lived in like different cities and different states. And I just asked them, would you please play bass and drums on this?
Is this album out?
Oh yeah, it's been out since like 2021.
What's the name of the album?
My Hands Are on Fire. My Hands Are on Fire.
My Hands Are on Fire by, is it
Sally Louise? Yeah. I should see a doctor about that, but I don't. No, I considering.
I think it's worse if your toes, because then it's like athlete's
foot.
Yeah. You've seen the commercials where they have the spray and stuff.
Yeah,
the toes are on fire.
Hands, but it's named after. It's a Bob Dylan quote, but it's also like a really obscure Bob Dylan quote, but it's also kind of a descriptor of like how I feel every time you get like, as a songwriter, you get that sense of like the train of inspiration is coming and it's going to roar through me, and I have to like literally write it down, otherwise I'm going to lose it. Yeah. And I feel like my hands start tingling, like it's like I have to, and my brain starts tingling, like I need a piece of paper and a pencil right now. Like
is it so that whole album you said was written during that kind of tumultuous relationship
and
time?
I wrote an album, and then I scrapped all those songs and I wrote another album, and then decided, that was what I wanted. And so over the course of like 9 months, I recorded it, and I had to record it twice because of technical difficulties, because I didn't know what I was doing.
You said this was during
COVID? Yeah. So 2020, like April 2020, I started just like putzing around on GarageBand. And then by February of the following year, 2021, I think it was done. I think it was February or March. And then it was out by May, and I decided to just, at that point, I was still working a day job, and it was remote, all that stuff, and I got fired from 2 different jobs within 3 months of each other. I think it was just like a sign from God, like, just be a musician already, just do it. Just be a freelancer, just do the damn thing. It'll be fine, it'll be safe, it'll be great. And it was a scary jump. I think everyone is scared to do that jump. And I like made a course on that too, like for people who want to start doing freelance stuff.
Well, here's something too. Some people are feel like you've got to either go 100% in, right, and completely do that as your thing. And they don't. I feel like it's okay to have your day job that's kind of supplying you money and giving you the security of like being able to live somewhere, right? And doing that at the same time. The problem with that is it ends up it takes a lot of time to do that, right? Because you're doing your music stuff in your free time, I guess you can call it.
And then you're exhausted because you're kind of working 2 jobs,
right? And you're doing your day job and then going and trying to do music, which is an emotional thing. It can be a lot, but I think that it can be done. I think most people that ended up being successful doing music as a full-time career have made that kind of transition at some point where it's like you have your day job, you have your music, and then eventually you kind of
you wean yourself off the day job. I definitely fluctuated where I've been freelance for over 2 years, and only now I've decided to like take on like a part-time job at my friend's shop just to like take some of the weight off of gigging, because I started to like burn out.
Yeah.
And I think, who knows how long I'm going to be doing this just to pay the bills, because it's just like, I'm doing it and I'm also doing something that I enjoy, which is just like working with my hands, and it's a furniture store, so I'm like refinishing things. But I really love that because I have that freedom, I can just like, take on whatever I need to and then like go back to what I want to do. And I still have all this free time to sew, to songwrite, to whatever. And right now I'm kind of in a hibernation from songwriting, to tell you the truth. I haven't written a song since like June.
Yeah, it tends to come in waves, I feel like, with me too.
Where it'll be like months where I'm like, oh wow, I'm writing songs all the time. I have inspiration everywhere. Oh my God. And then you just like hibernate for a while. I feel like I'm in this, like, I'm like a sponge right now. I'm in that sponge stage where I'm just soaking everything up and just thinking in the back of my mind about a lot of things and processing, knowing that the song will come.
So, do you write from a melody point, like when you
totally lyrical,
and I've asked everyone this, like, would you sit down and say, I'm gonna write something?
No.
Or is it something like you said that just kind of is like, it has to,
but it's like a mix. I'd say for me it's always lyric forward. Like I have so many voice memos on my phone of me like humming a melody, but I never use the melody, and I might go back and I'll be like, cool, I don't want to write this. Like, and I'll just delete it, because I'm just like, the melody first doesn't work for me. It's always like I need a reason to write, and the lyrics are the reason to write for me, because it's like the message I want to get across, and so when I sit down, sometimes I just like putz around my guitar and something comes out. But I'd say for me to get back into songwriting flow after like a period of hibernation, I have to have that like train of inspiration pull through the station, so to speak. It's got to hit me like a ton of bricks, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember how to songwrite. Like, yeah.
So are you saying? So you're saying you write a melody and then it kind of fleshes out, or you're saying
I'm saying I write the lyrics and then the melody just comes second.
I can't write like that. I don't know,
because I can fit lyrics into whatever melody I want. That's kind of like, because I've sung so much and like in different languages and all that stuff, I have a really good ear for language. I have a really good ear for putting the right emphasis on the right syllable and like making sure that it works. And so when you're singing, I think for me, the melody makes more sense when I actually have the words that I want to say. And I might edit the words to fit with a melody once I get going into the song. Yeah. Maybe I might write a few lyrics and I'm like, oh, I have a really killer melody to go with it. And then that's how it starts. It's not like I have to write the whole song out and then I add the melody. It's kind of like piecing it together.
And do you writing music on guitar, piano?
Guitar, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I took like 5 years of piano lessons as a kid, and like I still struggle with piano. Like it's like too many things to keep track of. But guitar was like, I took a handful of lessons in high school, and then I just like,
yeah. Well, I feel like
self-taught. It's way more fun.
The guitar ends up. I forget who I was. Some interview I was watching about how guitar players tend to learn music versus other instruments. It's like on a piano, it's very linear the way the notes are all going, right? But on a guitar, you tend to learn like the pattern you should hold. Yeah. So like what an A chord looks like. The shapes. Yeah. And then even if as you capo down, you're still doing the shapes, and so you tend to learn in that way. Yeah. And so. It's a different way of kind of writing because of that. Yeah. And I agree with you. I've tried to learn piano and stuff in recent years. Yeah, it's like unless you're doing it constantly. My piano players for my band are always yelling at me like, Pat, because I always want to do it during a show. Like, oh, let me play the song. And they're like, Pat,
stop. No,
you're not good enough to do it.
Yeah. Like, you wish. You wish you were good enough. Yeah.
So now, obviously, you're saying you're in kind of a hiatus in between, and are you performing now since you've been?
I'm in a funny place. I don't know if I would say funny. I'm in a good place. I'm in a place where I feel like I'm giving myself some mental spaciousness from music at the moment, so that way I can let the things that I've created in the last year that have not been public yet just kind of sit with me while I figure out where I want to take them. I think a big thing with like every songwriter wants their song to be a big deal and wants a lot of people, like wants the whole world to hear their song. And I think the issue with being a songwriter now is well, it's always who you know, right? But also how much money you have to market it.
That's a big
and
a big part of it, and unfortunately.
I feel very grateful that I've done as much as I have, considering like most people in the world, all 50 something listeners on my Spotify currently. I hope that changes in the next year. Thank you for listening. Yeah. but like, you get these highs and lows, and some months you're like, wow, I have so many people listening, and others you're like, there's 2 people who listen. But I feel very grateful that now I'm in a place where like certain people have come into my life in this last year, and we've recorded a lot of my music, and I'm just sitting on this like bank of songs, and we're making videos, and we're figuring out, like, I have the unfortunate pleasure of doing legal stuff for my music before I release it, because I'm like, this might actually take off because of the connections I have now.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who actually knows? I don't.
Right.
I'm not trying to like say this is going to be big, but I am saying like it's who you know, right? It's like once you get your foot in a door where you're like, oh, this could be really lucrative, and people could really hear that. Like a lot of people could really hear this if it goes on a TV show or in the movies or whatever, and it has that potential. Then it's like, okay, how do I'm kind of gathering resources right now to figure out the best way to launch it, because I don't want to just launch my song and then for it to die. I want to launch it and have a little bit of momentum behind it, so that way it can gain some traction. And figuring out like, all right, what do I need? How many music videos do I need? Do I need to like hire a marketing team? Like, what do I need? A different distributor? Do I need like a sync licensing deal? Like, what do I need to get this song where I want it to go? And collaborating with certain artists has been really helpful too. And again, none of this has been public yet as of the recording of this in October 29th is today.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, October 29th, 2023. Like,
well, we don't talk about dates because sometimes things get released in certain certain
I'm
ways,
very transparent. Unlike Patrick.
I like to hide the dates of everything. So see it.
All I'll say is I'm very grateful. Who knows what will happen with this music, but I think that's where I'm at right now, of realizing, okay, so I have my recording artist side of like, okay, I want to launch these and it's going to be great. And then I have my performance side where I've taken a step back. When it comes to gigging, I want to become more exclusive. I don't want to gig at bars anymore. I don't want to gig at these breweries. I'm really tired of it. I'm tired of playing to the guy in the back staring at me with a chicken sandwich in his hands. Like I want to play for an audience that actually cares. It's an actual listening room. And I realize I'm learning really quickly, like my music is meant more for a theater than a festival.
I like theaters more than anything else.
Yeah, too. Yeah. And I think certain bands do better at festivals. Oh my God, you're a festival band. Yeah. Awesome.
Even bars. I mean, but the bar scenes tend to be more like, covers. People are a little drunk. They want to sing along with stuff they know.
Don't get me wrong. There's a time and place for everything. And I am currently being hired for like cover bands. So that's great. But like as far as my own original music, like I want people who really listen and care and who want to become real fans. And so my realization is like, okay, I need to like actually create a show. So right now I'm in the process of like getting my band together, which is more like an orchestral folk kind of band. So like a lot of strings, even though we have like a full drum kit, it's a little bit more orchestral. And we're getting that polished and figuring out, okay, we just need an hour set and an opener, and we needed access to a theater, and we need like a marketing team to kind of kick off this run of shows, or one show even, just to get it kicked off, and figuring out the next steps for that. So right now it's like logistics paired with what kind of show do I want to make? How do I want to make the audience feel? What is that going to look like? What's the lighting going to look like? What's the set going to look like? How's the costuming? Like I want it to be a show. Yeah. It's not just like I'm going to get up on stage in a t-shirt and jeans and call it a day. Like it's got to feel something.
So we've done
production values, everything.
I think we've done 2 now. And as a matter of fact, that poster on the wall back there was one we did for the Fringe Festival. That was at the Innovation.
Oh, that Innovation,
theater here.
I'm doing that later this month.
That theater is awesome. It's an amazing theater.
So I hear.
It's really cool. I hear. Good sound system, like good lighting in there. Yeah. Those are the kind of places I really like playing. I did also. I played with what's her name, Crystal Bowersox for years back. She's on American Idol or something like that. Oh, that's awesome. At the German House. I don't know if it's even called that anymore.
I live around there. Yeah,
but that place too, like the sound in that venue is really cool. Everyone's seated in a way that's like viewing it. But I understand what you're saying too. I've played a bunch of places where it's really a food place first.
Yeah.
So everyone's facing each other at tables, and no one's facing the stage. So
You're
you're
just there
playing
to drink a beer and
you're playing
and watch
to
the
their
game on TV. That it's hovering over your head for some reason. It's on the stage.
Yeah, but like you said, there's a time and a place for that, and there are a lot of paid gigs too, where you can be a working musician, maybe doing some of that stuff, and then be doing, which I've started to do some of those too, just because they make money. So
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, you got to pay the bills somehow, and sometimes it's just easy money to be like, I'm gonna have to spend 3 hours of my life doing this, But I'm at a point where I'm really burnt out from doing it, and I feel like this year has been particularly difficult. Yeah. A lot of people aren't feeling rich right now. I don't blame them. I'm not feeling that rich either. Yeah. But I'd say people don't want to spend it on a luxury, and to them, live music is a luxury. And so when it comes to even going to a bar, like cocktails feel like a luxury now for a lot of people. And so I'm like, I got to just reframe this. And like, if I'm going to make it significant, I'm going to like take the financial pressure off of this for a moment while I actually like reframe what I need to do. Yeah. And then I can go back at it when I feel like I have all the moving parts in motion together.
That's a super smart way to like approach. I think sometimes, there is a time and a place for just do versus think about too much, because you can get
stuck.
wrapped up in that.
So many people get stuck in their head and they never do the thing. Yeah. So many. That's what, like, you and I can probably relate to that. So many of our friends or people that we knew growing up who like were also musicians were like, oh yeah, my dream is to be this, and then they're like, still in the 9 to 5 being like, okay, one day. It's like,
it's the execution.
It's been decades. Like,
right. Well, I mean, it's a difficult business to be in, and part of that is understanding the actual business side of it, which sounds like you've got at least a little bit of a handle on how that goes, right? Yeah. And you definitely need to retool and rethink about how you're approaching stuff. Not just, I'm going to take a gig at a bar and I'm going to do a bar gig, and that's going to eventually, a record company is going to see me and make me famous, and because that's not how it works anymore.
It's delusional.
Nowadays it's you get a following, you get people listening to what you're doing, and then people start knocking on your door with opportunities. Like, you have to already be having that's such a weird phrase for me, be having opportunities at that you've manifested or you've made happen, and then people start kind of coming to you with options. But I wanted to speak on the legal stuff, not in particular on what you're doing, because obviously that's stuff you're still working on. But it's really important, I feel like, for musicians and songwriters especially to understand the legal side and the business side of songwriting and how that works. I used to do some classes here in town, just free classes for musicians, where I talked about how publishing works, how like BMI and ASCAP, and how those things work, because it's strange when you first start getting into like how publishing versus writing rights work, what are mechanical royalties, what's all that stuff. And then on top of that, a lot of times you're playing in a band with your friends. Yeah. And so you think, or just acquaintances or people you're playing music with at the time, and you're like, oh, they're just my friend. They'll never screw me over. They'll never, back out of something.
Get into business with a friend unless you've signed a contract. So that's what I learned the hard way, I'd say have everything in writing. Contract. Put everything in writing.
Regardless of whether or not it's your friend or whatever. If you write a song, you record something together, you're putting money into something and releasing it into the world. If you don't have something documented that says this was our agreement, it can very quickly get into territory where you either have to like pull it, or people get sued, like one of your songs take off.
100%. Yeah. And here's the thing: is like, if you have people working on a song and you maybe paid them a flat rate, but they're not getting royalties, and your song takes off, you didn't sign a contract or put anything in writing, you better believe one of them's going to come up to you, be like, hey, I worked on that song, I'd like royalties, you owe me like this many thousands of dollars, and you kind of don't have a backing because you didn't put it in writing. So you have to. And I've gone back to people who I've worked with and been like, hey, like, I just want you to, reply to this email saying you agree that like, this was our deal. This is what's up. I'm just trying to tie up all loose ends, make sure that my legal shit's in order. And everyone I've worked with has been so kind, like, absolutely no problem. Totally down to just like sign on the dotted line. And I've also been really grateful for OpenAI, because for contracts, all you have to do, type into Chat GPT now, you're like, I need a music video image release form for an extra on this music video titled this at this location on this date, and like it just auto populates for you, and you can just edit it or whatever and send it to those people. It's
so
just
crazy.
amazing. So
Yeah,
you don't need a lawyer to make a contract for yourself. I'll just say that.
You do want to read it through.
You want to read it through. No, you absolutely do. You absolutely do. But I am saying it saves you so much time and money if you can like figure out like, okay, how do I actually do this? And more than anything, again, it's just to make sure that the basics are covered. When it comes to actual like song registration stuff, get a lawyer for that. But when it comes to there's some basic things,
I will say this.
Get that on your own.
There is a certain level of like protection you can do on your own. Like if you register with one of the performance rights organizations, BMI or ASCAP, you can just register those songs. I will say this though. Having someone manage that for you is helpful.
Oh, it's so helpful.
Because you can forget to like do it. I'm very like, I'm doing a million things, and so sometimes I forgot to register the song. It's already released, and then I have to go in after the fact. But I think that even people with huge record companies, all this money behind them, legal teams, all that stuff, they still get sued.
Oh yeah,
there's
100%.
still that. So
like things like, and another thing is like on top of registering, you also wanted copyright ideally, and it's been as a songwriter, it's really important, I think, to be able to protect your ideas.
I had a friend, he has a publishing deal, and he does a lot of like TV and film stuff, and he found out one day that some like adult video had taken his song and used it not only in it, but it was they made the title of the song the title of the video and was distributing it, like not here, I think it was over in China or somewhere.
Oh my God.
And luckily his publisher that he has his deal with was smart enough to actually have people out searching to make sure his stuff is protected, and they found it, and he ended up having to like sue them. But even then you have to get lawyers and all that stuff. So just do contracts ahead of time. If someone doesn't understand why you would want to do that, just I don't think you'd want to work with them then, because then it's likely that you'll have problems in the future
seriously.
if they're insistent that they don't want to sign any kind of contract.
It's
on
one
things.
of those things that like you have to have the business savvy if you want to do this, right? And you learn that as you do it. But as an artist, man, it is such a drag. Like I don't blame artists for forgetting to do this or not knowing how to do this, because it's not like there's like a manual on how to do this. Like you just kind of collect it through YouTube or a course or through friends telling you what to do, or from their like horror stories you learn. And there's so many things I don't know, but from what I do know, please just especially have it in writing.
I'd say you have someone coming in and performing something, a studio musician, that sort of thing. Just as simple, you could find like templates online for that sort of thing. But when it comes to actual songwriting, to having a performance rights organization or something that you've actually registered with it, and you have certain percentages. So for people that don't know, the way that a performance rights organization measures kind of the royalties that get handed down on a song, it's 200%. Just a weird way to do it. And you have your publishing side of it, and then you have your songwriting side of it. So you get 100% of whoever the songwriter or songwriters are, and then the publishing, typically that's kind of negotiated in a publishing deal. Or with my band, sometimes like if I write the song, I'll keep the writing, and then I'll share the publishing side of it with across the band with everything else. So every time it gets performed somewhere, they get a cut of it, even though they didn't technically write the song. But that stuff, it's boring. I think if you're like, I just want to start a rock band and play loud music.
Then go play at bars and stuff. Like absolutely no one's stopping you. But if you actually want to like publish your music and you want to get it out there and get it into people's hands, I think for me it wasn't you have to have a healthy bit of delusion to start doing that, right? To be like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna make it big. And you do it, and then you realize, oh yeah, like I actually have to do a lot of shit to get anyone to hear this. And it's kind of amazing though, even though it's not like I'm a famous songwriter or anything like that yet.
I like that.
Yet.
You've seen it here. You've seen it here
first.
So Louise, a week from now blows up.
There you go. God willing, right? But no, it's amazing the connections I've made through that, of how people have found me through the weird places they found my music. Where like I have some friends who I was really naive and cocky at the same time, as you typically are. And my album came out. I decided, like, as it was, I was prepping for its release, I was like, I'm going to tour Nashville solo. Yeah, I'm going to tour Nashville. Never toured in my life. So I just started messaging, cold calling, like, a bunch of musicians on Instagram who were in Nashville.
Yeah.
That I thought I'd be a good fit with. I'd be like, yo, I'm coming to town on between these dates. Are you performing? I would love to open for you. I will do it for free even. I just want to network. I just want to, like, get out there. And only one person responded, yes. And that was great. And I opened for them. It was very sweet at this, like, little, like, beer joint. But I reached out to a radio host down there too. And she just so happened to be very kind and have me on. I was like the first in-studio person post-pandemic. And someone heard my song on the radio because she kept playing my music after that. And I got, a month or two later, I got, like, 2 people started following me at the same time on Instagram. And when you have, like, 1,000 followers, that's, like, a big deal. Because you're like, wow, 2 people at the same time. What? Weird. And turns out they were partners and they both lived in Nashville. And one of them reached out to me and was like, oh, I just want to, like, say I've been listening to your song every day for the last 2 months because I heard it on the radio. My Bluetooth wasn't working on my way to work, and so I started listening to the radio for the first time in forever. Your song came on and I loved it, and I thought it was like some pop star out of LA, and I didn't know the name of it. I didn't know who it was, and I Googled it when I got to work. Googled the lyrics, and it was you, and I started listening and finally decided to find you on Instagram, and I realized you're from upstate New York. I'm from upstate New York. My husband's from upstate New York, or my partner at the time. They're getting married now, but like, it's such a small world. Like, this is so amazing and weird, and I love your music. I would love to meet you all the time. And I ended up, like, going down there for a second tour the following year, and I just stayed with them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And introduced them to the radio host and had a house show there. And it just was like, this is just one of those, like, magic moments where you're like, oh yeah, music does matter. Like, this is going to be great. Like, my songs do matter and they matter to people. It's so easy to forget that, especially when you're not, like, the songwriter of the moment. You know, when you're not famous whatsoever, it's easy to get discouraged, to be like, my music doesn't matter. It's like, there's so much music that matters, but because there's so much of it, it's like shouting into the void unless you have millions of dollars to and a record deal to, like, promote it, you know. Well,
so that's another thing, is that nowadays too, you've got the ability as an independent musician. There's been musicians that have become, you know, overnight multi-millionaires, you know what I mean? Like Kendrick Lamar did it pretty much without a record company behind him, right? But what he understood was the business side of it, right? Because I don't think you could get to that level without acting out all the stuff that record companies do. And what record companies do is basically they act like a bank. They just loan you a bunch of money, and you think, oh, I've got millions of dollars now to play around with. But every time you go on tour, every time you hire a musician, every time you go into the studio, you're paying for it out of your advance or whatever. And ultimately, most of the stuff you're doing anyway. Right. Yeah. So, not that I would encourage this, but I would say at this point in my life, I'd rather go to a bank and get a loan than get beholden to a record company, because you see, like what happened. The reason why Taylor Swift just released this album now, right? And a lot of artists do this. They'll remaster their first couple of albums or first album that was giant after they're already, they've been out and established for a while, because the record company, they own the masters on it. The contract that they signed was garbage.
They got like that 360 contract or whatever.
So they don't make any money. You don't make any money. So they're broke at the end of this thing, because they've paid for the tour, they've paid for all this stuff. All the money that they thought they had is all gone. So they go back and they re-release it, remastered, and own the masters then. But I'd rather not deal with the record companies at all, because I feel as though they're in trouble now.
No, I agree with you.
Because there are artists like Kendrick Lamar, and they're even more willing to do underhanded stuff to get, especially up and coming people that are like, a record company wants to sign me, and you get all excited.
I'd say there's so many they need you more than you need them. In a lot of ways.
And there's just so many people looking to scam you.
There are
now with social media. They reach out, hey, I'm
interested and I want to sign you.
Yeah, I want to sign you.
And they butter you up, and you're like, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, just
there's also like
give
a
me
level.
$2,000 and I'll put you on, whatever.
It's some sort of. It's like you are asking me. I shouldn't have to pay you.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah, I think the thing is to remember if you're if there really is an interest on the side of the people that are reaching out to you, I think them giving you some sort of money would be the first sign that this is probably legitimate.
Yeah.
Obviously you want to read contracts and stuff, but if they're asking you for money, they're
vultures.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think that's something that I had a good sense of early on. My parents taught me well. They were like, if it's too good to be true, it usually is.
Yeah. It's tough, though, because it's such a dreamer career, like being a songwriter and a musician and stuff.
But it's a dreamer career, but I think the idea of superstardom does not appeal to me.
Yeah.
The idea of just being able to live off of making music and doing what I'm doing is the dream. And of course I want it to like grow, and I want it to expand to being able to have a team and being able to have, which I'm trying to like branch out to that, having a team, being able to have my music as a business, and it's separate from me a little bit. That's really amazing. And the thing is, it's very well within reach. It just takes a couple, it takes some years to really get into it fully. And,
yeah, and I think that there's there's such an emotional component to it, and you want people to hear, like you said, those moments where someone listened to a song of yours or something, and they're like, "Oh, this I love this song," or "It really touches me in this way," or you have someone reach out like, "Oh, it was a time in my life," and
that song really helped me.
Yeah, like it's an unbelievable feeling that it's hard to explain what that feeling is like, and I've talked a bunch of times about like what it's like to be on stage and be connecting like with an audience, and what that emotional feel. It's like a relationship you have.
It's an energy exchange. You're
So let's do this, because where are we at? We're at about 50 minutes, something like that. What are you working on now that maybe you can talk about?
Yeah.
So actually, if people are looking for voice lessons,
if you're in the Rochester area, hit me up. Sally Louise Sings on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and the like. Just DM me, or you can go on my website and you can contact me through there. There's like an email you can contact me on. So I teach voice lessons, and more than anything, please follow me on Spotify. Thank you.
Yeah, that does help. I saw some, speaking of business stuff, they're reworking Spotify somehow.
Again?
It's not. It's definitely not in a way. There's some sites, like you see some stories, they're trying to make it out as if it's for the benefit of song. There's nothing in Spotify's interest that makes them want to give songwriters more money. So never trust.
Yeah.
Never trust them.
All I'll say is like, it's free for you to follow someone, right? That's really it. So more than anything, like, buy music or support me at a show. You can follow me on Instagram and all that stuff. I personally have been trying to take a hiatus from like posting a lot on Instagram and like not trying to be on there. So I just like have my little email newsletter, and I just post on that once a month. Oh, here's all the stuff that's going on. But what's been happening right now, again, I just have a bunch of songs that I'm sitting on, and can't wait to release them next year. I got a killer music video that Sully, our friend Sully, directed.
Yeah, he's going to be on
in a week or two. Yeah, next week.
Yeah, he'll be in the studio.
Yeah.
Probably won't get released until mid-November, but
that'll be great.
He'll be on too.
So it won't be till 2024 that anything comes out, but if you want to get ahead of the game and start listening to my stuff, you can follow me there on Spotify and stuff. I personally, it's just funny. This podcast is coming out of a funny time, because I'm not like, wow, I got a project that I have to tell you about. It's like I can't tell you about it yet, and I want to. But
I don't want to treat this podcast necessarily as like a promotion, although it does. Like if
part of it,
you know, people are obviously wanting to get their projects out and stuff. But I really want to get into like the minds of musicians and songwriters and stuff, and see where they're at too, because it helps me not feel so crazy sometimes too. And I'm like, oh, people are actually, you know, the fellow songwriters or fellow musicians are kind of thinking the same things that I'm thinking in some way, shape, or form. And then for people listening to it, helps them to be able to relate to. You know, I mean, I've had artists on here that are, you know, just starting out and just starting to write songs, don't have an album, don't have anything out. And then I've had a few people that are, you know, and some guests that are coming up too that are you know, more established as professional musicians like yourself.
Oh, thank you. I still feel like I'm like just barely I barely have like the foundation laid, and I think it's still like cracking underneath me. Like I'm still figuring it out. But I think that's the kind of the nature of the field. Like it doesn't matter how many years in it's if there's anything I've learned in recent years, it's that like job security is false. So like after being fired twice from jobs that I thought nothing's secure, like, and so like I might as well do what I'm going to do and do what I want to do, and if I fail at it, well, I tried, you know.
Wasn't that didn't Jim Carrey say that or something? I think his dad, he said he learned from his dad or something along the lines of like,
his dad wanted to be a comedian.
You can fail at doing something you don't love or that you hate, so why not try and do something you love? You know, something like that. I definitely didn't say the quote.
But all I'll say is, like, you know, if you're going to spend 40 hours a week doing something you hate, well, if you take those 40 hours and put it towards something you love, you'd probably make a lot of big moves. And there's certainly a gap between, like, you know, making a living on it, like going from 0 to 100, let's say, but like it's actually not that, it's not as long as you think. And the second I was like, all right, world, and I like publicly was like, I'm teaching lessons, I'm open to bookings, like I'm gigging, I'm doing, like, hire me, I'm a vocalist, and I was fully booked for a couple months, like within a couple weeks. I think that
that there's a certain fear of getting what you want that's out there, right? So people,
there's a fear
in their heads, right? They're thinking this is what I want, right? But when it comes down to the brass tacks, when it comes out to like actually going about doing it, yes, I think there's a fear of failure there.
Oh gosh,
but I think there's also a fear of like if I succeed,
then I have to keep doing this.
Right. Well, but there's musicians and people that have done that. You know, that's why the sophomore album thing is such a big thing. It's like okay, you did it that one time. You know, you took years to get up to that point. Now you have to do it again. Now you have to reproduce that.
You're like,
you know, it's like there's this fear of like, wow, I need to then be performing at that. And I think after a while, you probably get into just the flow of like, oh yeah, I can do this, you know, and replicate it and keep going. But I think that prevents people from really going after what they want sometimes. And the safe thing is, I'll just keep doing my, you know, my job that I know I'm not going to get, you know, maybe fired from or whatever. I could just get another job that's similar to that. And they never go out and actually pursue what they want out of life.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the one thing that helped me kind of get out of that mindset of, you know, one day I'll do it, you know, was finally realizing, like, am I able to get into, like, the goal of all this, the reason why I love doing it, one of the biggest reasons why I love doing this is because I get into flow state so easily. And I think in so many ways, like in my day job, I was not able to get into flow very easily. I was miserable all the time because it felt like this start and stop, start and go, like constantly trying to like shift my mind into gears that were not like I just don't think in the way, like I felt like a robot. And to get into flow is such an artistic thing. It's like letting yourself be a conduit for the divine. Like, and
It's so funny because I can't tell you, almost every single episode we've got into some level of
spirituality.
Like songs are coming from somewhere that you don't know where they're coming from.
100%.
It's so strange. Like you're like, and I've said this too in the past, like almost like you're remembering it versus you creating it.
Yeah.
And I've watched a bunch of interviews too about songwriters. Who was it recently? Either Paul McCartney or it was someone else, and they were talking about it like that. It's like I'm not writing this stuff. I'm not coming up with it. I'm like remembering, or I'm seeing it, and then trying to re-explain what I'm already seeing.
Yeah.
Are you religious? Spiritual?
I'm not religious. I'm spiritual.
Not to call you out or
no,
anything.
No, it's fine. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I grew up Jewish. I'm ethnically Jewish. So it's just like Judaism was a good foundation for me, because Judaism in a nutshell is like ask all the questions, study all the things. Question God, like question life, and be a good person, because who cares what happens after we die? We don't know.
Yeah. So
like that's like the concept. And so being very present in the moment, and thinking, okay, what is the point of all this? What am I here to do? And for me, it's like, I have to make music. Like, and,
isn't it such a blessing and a curse?
It's so great. It's a blessing and a curse.
It's this compulsion that you just have to do it.
Yeah, I need another guitar.
It's such a weird thing to like want, like not even want to do. Like I have to do it.
I have to do it. And right now,
it's really hard to explain to people that don't do it.
It's like the way some people. What made you go into opera? It was like the way a nun becomes a nun. You just you get called to it. You have to do it. Yeah. And people laugh at that, but it's true. It's like really like you get called to it, and it keeps pulling at you. And like for me, it was, it's morphed and changed. Like it's not opera anymore. Now it's songwriting. Now it's making my own music. And right now in this little transition in my life between like what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years and what I'm hoping to do with this new bank of songs and this new band and performances, et cetera, this show, I feel like I just lost my train of thought. It'll come to me.
It might have been the cider.
It could have been that. Goddamn. No, I feel like this is it. I feel in this transition.
It's back. It's back.
It's back. I feel like this transition period makes me feel a little useless as a musician, because I don't feel the love of songwriting right now, because I'm not songwriting. I have no songs in me right now. I'm just like percolating in the back of my head with lyrics.
I think that's a good thing though, for especially people that are listening, that are songwriting and just starting out, and you feel like it's not flowing out like it should be, and there's something about just writing anyway, right, and continuing to do it, but there's also something to letting yourself live life. I've talked about comedians in the past too, and how sometimes they get to a point where they're just touring all the time, right, and then they start writing jokes about touring, but no one can relate to them because they're not comedians that are touring, right? So they have to like take a break from touring and live a bunch of life, fuck up a bunch of relationships and stuff, and,
do
and then they have material to pull from, you know?
I feel that. I find myself...
It's okay, is what I'm just getting to.
No,
it's okay to have those lulls where you're actually living life, where then that stuff can maybe be distilled over time and come out as music. It's
true. I'd say though, this is the dilemma I'm having currently, and it's a good dilemma to have. But so all this music that I've written, not including the songs that I've written that I'm sitting on that are not published, but all the stuff that I published. I was a very sad girl when I wrote most of that stuff. Yeah. And I find myself to be in a very happy place with the people in my life and the things that I'm doing and the way my life is going right now. And I'm like, man, happiness is kind of uninspiring.
It really is. Being completely satisfied. I'm totally
content and satisfied right now. And I'm like, man, I don't know how to write I don't know how to write right now, because for the longest time, it's like, songwriting is a great way to express my longing and wanting, or my frustration, or my, the struggle of life. And now I'm finding different struggles, and I'm writing about different things, or thinking of different things to write about, rather. I'm not actually writing.
Well, maybe it's that time to write that bubblegum pop song.
Maybe.
And talk about partying and go to bubble parties. Is that a thing now still? Bubble, like, they have like bubbles everywhere. And
I'll take your word for it. I have no idea what that is, but
no, you've never been.
No,
all right.
No.
Foam, is it? Oh, foam party. I think foam party. Yeah, maybe that's what it's called.
Also,
I don't know. There's just like foam bubbles everywhere in the party.
That sounds like fun. Sign me up.
Maybe it's a New York City thing. This doesn't exist.
Probably.
Like at raves and stuff. But let's do this one more time. Tell people, I guess, where they can find your music.
Okay, so you can find me at Sally Louise Sings. Try to keep it consistent, right? Sally Louise Sings on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And my website is sallylouisesings.com. And you can check me out on Spotify and Apple Music and Tidal and all those places. Yeah.
I'd like to have you back on, maybe.
I would love to, because I feel like we had a lot more to say about
we definitely do, and I'm trying to figure out too if keeping it just to an hour is long enough. I always feel like I'm cutting them off.
Yeah. Well, more than
too early.
I feel like these kind of long. This reminds me of the. Oh God, I'm horrible with podcast names. I don't know. It's like in the genre of Joe Rogan.
Oh,
it's Joe Rogan.
Le Joe Rogan.
Yeah. No. Where it's like they talk for like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or what? Oh God, what's his name? There's another guy. It's like the something family hour. And he's great. But I can't remember. He's the guy who does Midnight Gospel on Netflix. If you know that show.
No, I don't.
I can't remember.
I'm gonna have to check it out
right now. He's a comedian. He's great.
But yeah, like I think comedians are good at that too, because they can just they start expounding on ideas and stuff. I feel like we start to get into like a comfortable, just regular conversation. It stops to feel like it's a production.
Yeah.
And we're actually talking after about half an hour, and then the interesting stuff kind of starts coming out. So we might expand it, make these a little longer as time goes on. But for now, we'll keep them about an hour, and we'll have you back on.
Pleasure, yeah.
And especially if you're working on stuff now, I'd love to hear about whatever the projects end up being at the end.
Keep you in the loop on that, and we'll schedule something.
Yeah.
How about that?
So why don't we do this? Why don't we prep you to do a song if you want to?
Yes,
do you still want to do it?
I'd still want it. And I think I'm going to do a different song than what I just did the guitar to. So
cut to this camera here, if you could, Maya. And I just want to talk to the listeners, to my close up. So I want to thank everyone for listening and watching, and please, if you can, if you comment and subscribe, you like the videos, you like our posts, it really helps us to keep this going, and it really helps with engagement and people being able to see this stuff. So we really appreciate you guys, and we do have a it's called a patron account. We don't actually have a Patreon account. It's a patron account, and if you Google the Songwriters Couch, you can be a friend of ours and donate some money every month and help keep us online, along with our awesome sponsors from Lucky Buzz and from Seed and Stone Cidery. And if there's anyone you want to see on future episodes, let us know. We've got some cool merch. I know I've said that a couple of times now, but it's really in the works. I've actually got an artist kind of working on some stuff, so it'll be amazing, right? Maya's doing the holy crap, the cool stuff. What did you say it was? Slay? She said it was slay. My 13-year-old daughter saying that it's slay. So we've got some cool stuff coming out. So as soon as that's out, we'll put some links in the description. And in the meantime, we're going to have Sally Louise play some stuff for us and play us out. And again, we're going to have you back out, Sally Louise.
Oh, that'd be great.
Promise.
I'm down.
So what are you... what are you going to sing for us here?
So this is a song. It's not released and it hasn't even been recorded yet. It's called Whole Life to Burn, and I dedicate this every time I perform it to the people in my life who came into my life after I stopped doing opera and started doing songwriting, because I lost a whole community that I had been building for a decade. And then it was the pandemic. I was very lonely and isolated for many reasons, but suddenly I had not very many people I could relate to. And it's really in the last 2 years that like my chosen family has appeared, and they've been so supportive. And so this song is basically about pursuing the things you love to do, and the right people will show up in the right time. I'm going to push this mic back because I sing quite loudly.
Yeah, maybe point it kind of towards,
towards
the guitar a little bit, and then it's probably perfect right there. Yeah, you can sing loud? Really? Opera singers don't sing loud.
Nah. On the wall tells me where I've been. It shows me where I'm going. Thought it'd be different where I am, but I can't judge how I'm growing. Then I walk down this broken path and held my hand through it all. Came out on the other side, wiser and brighter than before. And it soul is ignited, so short-sighted, it's got its whole life to burn. Mystical magic, splendor in the grass, show me what to live for. Every creature has a purpose and a path. It's surely what we're here for. Live out your truth, your deepest desires, move it through your very veins. Spirit inside connects your heart, so goodness on you. Rain, heal my heart, okay. Rain, let me dance again. Rain, heal my heart, okay. Rain, let me dance Soul is ignited and so short-sighted, it's got its whole life to burn. Thank you so much.
My, oh my. You got some pipes on you.
Thank you. I paid a lot of money for them. They better work.
Did you? What store? Because I'd like
What
to go.
store? Yeah,
I'd like to go
geez.
grab some for myself. Because
I don't recommend going to that store.
Sally Louise, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really
Cheers.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Comment in the comments there. Let us know if you'd like to have Sally back 1, 2, or 3 times.
That'd be fun.
In the next
Let's
year.
do it.
So we'll have you back on, and hopefully you got some new projects coming out that we can promote and good luck in the future.
Thank you so much.
With
Thanks for
everything.
having me.
And we'll talk a little bit about some business maybe afterwards in the theater thing.
Yeah.
Because
That'd be great.
I was going to say something, but thank you all for listening. This has been the Songwriters Couch. Maya,
Thanks, Maya.
thank you for being the camera switcher. We really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone that listens and watches and all that stuff. And we'll see you on the next one, guys. Later.